Hi, my name is Uncle Don, and you are listening to This Thing in the Mud. My apologies for a break in transmission from last week. I have been doing some traveling and haven't had time to put things together. Today we are talking about the Super Eagles of Nigeria, and if you've been following the trend of things over the past few days, you will understand why we are talking about this subject. There is a story about a man who died on a football pitch while playing for the Nigerian national team back in the 80s. Samuel Okwaraji was the name of that man. For most children born in the 1990s and early 2000s, this story will feel like a biblical story or an ancient tale that they have heard many times before, and it has become a legend over time. Samuel Okwaraji is the same individual who is occasionally mentioned in the legendary India versus Nigerian football match story. Some claim that he kicked the ball that scored the only goal against India, leading to Nigeria's 101 defeat to India. Others claim that he died on the pitch immediately after kicking the ball, which turned into a mighty rock. But don't take my word for it, because different versions of this story are still circulating, none of which are obviously true. The interesting aspect of Samuel's life is that he was a committed, talented player, but most of all, a learned man. He was a qualified lawyer who, at the time of his death, had a master's degree in international law from the Pontifical Lateran University of Rome. At first glance, you would think that this guy was a reggae star because he had a dread, and you wouldn't even take him seriously. Now, every time I read about this tale or story and other stories about players that used to play for the Nigerian national team, such as Kanu, JJ Okocha, or Mokachi, it raises a lot of questions about the times that we live in. In comparison to the older generation, perhaps the concept of nationalism and patriotism, pride, has become a thing of the past. Sometimes, I feel like patriotism was undoubtedly preached to people back in the days in churches and mosques and schools, and people had to grow up believing and imbibing noble morals that might make one swear that you would never leave Nigeria hanging, even if our leaders were a bunch of losers. The Super Eagles are the one thing that most Nigerians have for keeps in our nation, and people adore the team as if it were their precious jewel. Football is the one thing that brings people together, and that one thing that we can always turn to for comfort when all else fails. You can claim that after God and your family, the Super Eagles are the one thing that would give you restless nights when they are losing and immense delight when they are winning. So, what happened to the Super Eagles, and what has caused it to become so mediocre that the sky is a place dreads to fly to? What has diluted the vitality that our fathers spoke of about back in the 80s and the 90s that we could no longer sense in the team? Now I'm telling you this story because a few days ago we lost to Ghana in the process of qualifying for the Qatar 2022 World Cup. And it was a painful experience for me watching the Super Eagles give up the ticket to Ghana in the qualification stage, especially because I had personally gone to the stadium to witness the game. I paid a ticket and purchased a Nigerian jersey to look the part and not look out of place. My left toe was killing me at the time, and I couldn't walk properly because I had been wounded 3 days before the game while also playing a football game. I screamed my lungs out in the vast stadium and never truly realized why I was doing that. Even as a soccer coach and an ardent football fan, I am aware of the current caliber of these Super Eagles players. I know they don't play like the Super Eagles that we know or we've been told, but I choose to believe and see them as a team that can go all the way. Some days I ask myself, why? Why do you give all of your support to these people? But then, it is the Super Eagles. Which also begs the question, What exactly is patriotism, and where does it come from? And why does it make you do what it does? And where do we draw the line, especially when our hope is on the line for a potential Shatawale? Football is an insane sport. It has the ability to make you go crazy without you even realizing it. So, while I was looking forward to seeing how we would beat the Ghanaians and declare that Nigerian jollof was the best of all time in West Africa, I had also felt to prepare for a different outcome, which eventually brought tears to my eyes and shed light to two important things. One, humility. Humility in the sense that, like life, we can plan, but sometimes we have no answers to what humility can do to us. Humility can humble us, be it in debt, or maybe bringing down a rich man to become poor, bringing down a Goliath, or in the case of Nigeria, where on paper we had more better players than the opponent. Humility comes knocking and enters without regards for anyone. The second thing is anger. Anger because this was not supposed to happen in my head. I couldn't feel anything at the time, even as I watched those bastards in the stadium destroying government property after the game. You could argue that that is a risky thing to say or feel. Yes and no. I'm not going to reply or put your mind of such selfish thought, since I don't condone violence in any manner. However, the passion of football might cause you to believe in inconceivable things. It can even make you not to eat. I've taken time to reflect on the days building up to this, the talks that I've had with friends up until the day of the game, the group chats, and how I've tried to get into the stadium and see all those faces. I remember sitting next to four boys who were smoking pot, and yet no one complained. Everyone was busy cheering the Super Eagles on, like this was a war that had to be won by all means. There was sweat, dancing, beautiful people all around, and yet the Super Eagles were not super at the end of the night, and everyone went home sad. This is what football can do to you. But this is my solution to this whole challenge of not being the Super Eagles that we used to know, or the Super Eagles that we expect the current crop of players to be. I feel that there should be a sort of an orientation to people to make them understand that this is a different generation, that this is a different crop of players. As much as our expectations are high, we would not get the kind of result that we used to have in the 90s, the 80s, and whatnot. We should, like they say, cut our clothes according to our size. We have seen this young man play in different clubs, but there's something that I took away from the game last week. The fact that a team game can win individual game. We had amazing players, we had a bunch of good players, but the Ghanaians came with a bunch of players who were committed, who played like a team, and they had the day. And that's life. Team game always win games. And so, in the spirit of sportsmanship, I congratulate the Ghana team, and I hope that they do well in the World Cup. While we suck our wounds and try to heal, I can only wish all the African teams going to the World Cup good luck. And this is what is in the mud. Thank you so much this week, and I promise that I will always keep you guys updated on what's happening. Next week will be a storytelling week and maybe a poem. I've been writing a couple of things and I can't wait to share it with you guys. I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope everything is well with you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week ahead. Ciao. All my love. If you enjoyed this week's story of This Thing in the Mud, please don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment, and follow us on all our social media handles.